Hey everyone, we are live. I'm going to just refresh and make sure. I promise I'm not looking off the screen and multitasking and playing Royal Match. I'm actually just making sure that we are live. We're live on one, and the other one I don't see yet, but I'm sure will be coming up. Yay! We're live on everything. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm super excited that you're here. I appreciate that it's lunchtime and there's many other places that you can be. So I am not going to dilly-dally. We are going to get started right away. And hopefully the LinkedIn gods are on our side and LinkedIn doesn't crash, because it has not been a good technology week for social media platforms. So quickly, I'm going to talk about what we're going to talk about. Can you see my screen? I hope so, because it's taking up my whole screen. You can see it, Christina?
I can see it, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about how to supercharge your sales. What are ways that you can amplify your sales, and how can we do that faster with AI? I'm super excited that Christina is here because she is the master of prompts, chatbots, everything that you can think of that will help you amplify your sales and do it in less time. Then we're going to switch gears. I'm going to talk about how to build rapport faster using AI tools, how to get ready for your calls and do pre-research. So for those of you that are old school salespeople and you're looking at 10Ks and you're looking at all these things before you get on the call with the client, we can get that down into minutes. And then how do we scale our time where we're meeting with people? We want to get deal insights. We want to understand the buying committee and where they're leaning. How can we use technology to do that faster? I'm Bethanie Nonami, and I have been in technology. I started in technology over 30 years ago, and 25 of that time has been spent in sales. So I've been pre-sales, technical sales, sales, all of the roles. My role today is a corporate trainer and speaker, and we are here today to train and educate you. This is not disguised as a sales pitch. We have value. We're going to add goodies and resources at the end. So stick around so we can share the link so you can get access to all of the things that we're showing you. And I'm super honored to have Christina Sims. Christina has been in digital marketing for over 15 years, and she is a beast. She's also been 10 years in personal branding. She also does training and speaking for marketing teams. So for those of you that have organizations that you are trying to scale when it comes to sales and get more done in less time, or you have marketing that is just taking time, everything with marketing takes time. But we believe that marketing and sales should be aligned. It's a synergy. Everything that marketing does should support us on the sales side, whether it's building trust and credibility, whether it's positioning us as the leader and as the authority, or if it's helping us overcome objections. We don't have time to post just for the sake of posting. Everything is intentional. Everything is strategic. That way, the sales teams have assets and resources that they can point to that just look like marketing. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn my screen sharing off and flip it over to Christine.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Bethanie, for such a warm welcome, and so happy to be here with you all. So again, we were talking more about sales supercharging with AI, and I really like to kind of go back in time a little bit because I think sometimes we forget in this new era really how far we've just come. And so before COVID, we know we mainly purchased in person, and then when COVID hit, everything shut down. We all found ourselves pitching online. Zoom became our best friend, and depending on what industry you're in, sales may have been a little bit easier for you, may have been faster. But now, as we're really kind of moving out of post-COVID, we're seeing spiking inflation, market instability, and really organizations across all industries are buying slower. And let's face it, sales are the lifeblood of any business. And now that we have AI that's supposed to make everything faster, how exactly does that apply to how we get sales faster? And so what we're going to do is backtrack a little bit, because first we have to remember that while sales may be the blood that pumps through our business, relationships are at the heart of everything. So what we're going to do today is show you how to use AI to create and expedite those relationships better than anyone else. And so I'm going to start by showing you how to use ChatGPT first to create your sales blueprint. And as Bethanie said, she's going to show you some applications. So let's get started. Now I'm going to bring up my ChatGPT so you can follow along with me. Okay, can you see my chat GPT, Bethany? Is that a yes? All right. I'm going to assume you guys can. So here we go. So when I'm creating my sales blueprint, there's 3 different phases: the research, the role playing, and then the outreach. And the first thing we're going to do for purposes of the scenario, I want you to pretend that you sell electric pallet jacks. Originally, you sold to retailers, but now we want to move into a different territory. We want to target food service distribution industry. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have ChatGPT, and I'm just going to paste the prompt in here to expedite the process. We're going to say to ChatGPT, tell me about the food service distributor industry. So now ChatGPT is going to tell us a bit about the industry. Now, something I want to say is, could you use Google for this? Sure. But really what we're looking for is a snapshot. We're trying to expedite our process. And what I want to make sure you guys know in this is when you're looking for anything that's more real-time information, always cross-reference with an AI tool called Perplexity AI. But for this, we're going to keep in ChatGPT because what we're going to do is start training the bot in order to give us some more personalized information. So as you see here, it's really kind of letting us know more about the industry we're looking to get into. It's telling us some of the overview of the challenges, even how COVID had impacted this industry. And that's really giving you a better feel for, before you enter and start making your pitches, what's going on here. So now we're going to ask specifically, who are our primary competitors in this space? So now we're really starting to lean into who exactly are we targeting. And it's letting us know this industry is highly competitive, and we have several people in this market, both in North America and Europe combined. And it's really now breaking down to us who exactly we should be looking at that are leading this industry. So we have Cisco, US Foods, Performance Food Group, Gordon Food Service, Bid Food, and then let's see here, how many more? Metro AG. And so while it's doing that, also then if we want to make sure is take a look at what are the challenges now that we're facing. So we understand who we should be looking at as a whole to model after, but we also want to know now what problems are they actually suffering in this industry. So it tells us some of the things that they are suffering from right now. And especially it's saying that's been exacerbated by COVID, supply chain disruptions, increasing operating costs, food safety and compliance. It's telling us more about foodborne illnesses that's happened. And it'll give us some more technological adaptation, letting them know some of the online systems that they're using, cost and complexity of integrating these new challenges. So really getting an idea of what they're facing. And the next start we want to go is really get deeper, because we want to find out, how does this challenge now relate to the product or service that we particularly sell? In this case, again, we're selling electric pallet jackets. So we're going to ask them, what are the biggest challenges facing this as regarding to our project, our product? It's still going here, so we're going to let that finish up here real quick. All right, and now we're going to move to the next one. So now we know that there's several things really affecting this industry right now, and now we understand, where does our product fit or service in with that. So now we're really starting to tap into the positioning of how we're going to sell to our audience. Maintenance and repair costs, battery life management, training and safety. And that's something that's really huge in this industry, is the training and safety aspect, because we know there are a lot of drivers in this industry. Technology upgrades, space constraints, they're large. So depending on how big their warehouses are, it might be hard for them to maneuver them. Environmental conditions, and also just integration with their warehouse management systems. And then obviously compliance with their regulations. So let's say now we wanted to get more specific on who we're targeting, and let's say we want to target a specific area. And in this instance, I want to now target some of the companies in the food service distributor industry that are in the Eastern US. And so what's going to do now is tell them exactly who's on the East Coast. And this is something you can use specifically to target an area. And again, like I said, if you're looking for a more specified area, let's say I'm from Pittsburgh, so I really want to get deeper in the Pittsburgh region. Yes, I can still use ChatGPT, but just to cross-reference, always use Perplexity AI because it will give you that information in real time to make sure who specifically updated is in this organization. And so we know on the East Coast, these are our key companies that I would be looking at. And again, I could ask ChatGPT to tell me a little bit more about each of these organizations. If I wanted to know a little bit more about Performance Food Group, I would tell me a little bit more about that. Could we look up on the website? Yes, sure. Again, but we already know websites, they're marketing. So of course, they're going to put their best foot forward, and it's going to be more promotional in nature. What we're looking for is more informational. So we know as salesmen how we're going to connect with these people and find that rapport. So now we need to find out who our decision makers are. And in particularly, I want to know by department. And so I'm going to ask ChatGPT, what departments have an influence on buying decisions for electric pallet jacks in the food distributor industry? And now what it's going to do is give me the specific departments I should be looking to find. Now, this is going to be super important because as we're starting to look up who we're trying to connect with, it's really going to give us an idea of how that specific organization works. So I know now in the food service distributor industry, they have operations department, warehouse management, procurement, health and safety, and others. And so now this is giving me the idea to figure out who most likely should I be speaking to. And now I want to get a little bit deeper because I want to find out specifically what are the pain points that are affecting each of these people. And this is important because really when you're selling to them, pain points are different according to department. Obviously, sales department have a different priority than the marketing, than the operations do. And so we're wanting to make sure that we understand when we are tailor our pitch here, we're speaking to what is concerning them in their role. And so now it's breaking down specifically. So for operations, they care about efficiency and downtime. For warehouse management, space utilization and maneuverability. Procurement, cost control. Health and safety compliance and training. Finance, obviously the ROI. And it goes on from there. But we want to go deeper and find out who is in charge now of each of these departments. So we're getting really more specific on who our decision makers are. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT specifically to give me 5 titles of decision makers in each of those departments. So now it's going to break down each of those departments and give me 5 people I should be looking for to target my pitch to. So operations, it could be the director of operations, a facility manager, operations manager, warehouse management, warehouse manager, and you see it continues to go on for each of those there. But that's great. We want to get a bit more specific because, again, these are a lot of people to be trying to target. And so I want to know specifically who would be the most likely to influence the decision that's going to buy my electric pallet jack. So I'm just going to tell ChatGPT now to help me reduce my search even faster, condense to the top 3 for each department who have the likelihood of making this purchase decision. And so now it's going to take each of those departments and condense it down for me. So now I really have a more narrow focus on who I should be pitching. And this is really, really important because when you're using things like LinkedIn, of course, these titles could vary and you can ask ChatGPT to give you examples of different other related roles. But now it's giving us a blueprint on who we should be looking for, whether it's on LinkedIn or any other platform that you're using to pitch. And so this part right here is my absolute favorite prompt of all when I'm trying to craft sales pitches. And here it is. I ask, what are the direct and indirect costs for a company with 35,000 employees in the food distributor industry serving restaurants if the pallet jacks have quality issues that have resulted in delayed deliveries, put estimates in table format? And all for here, what you're doing is you want to find out, and this is again what you can use Perplexity AI to do, is find out about how many employees are they operating with, and specifically where are they serving. And in this case, I chose restaurants, and I'm trying to use quality issues as the main key issue in this prompt. And this is important before I even click send here is because you want to take a look at when you're getting the direct indirect cost, you are now helping find out what is the cost of inaction? What is the consequence if there's a quality issue? If they don't have it, there's a lack. And this is really what's going to get to heart of your pitch because then, for example, like this now, you're going to see it's now going to let us know an estimate of how much is it costing one of our prospects because they have not made a decision, they have not moved. So now here it's giving us a table and it's letting us know repair and maintenance could cost anywhere from 10,000 to 30,000. Overtime labor could cost anywhere from 50 grand to 100K. So you could say something such as, hey, we've noticed some of your counterparts are losing over 100 grand in labor costs, and it's because of these deadlines. Is this something you're experiencing? And so now what you're doing is opening up that window through that pain point to present your offer and how you can be the remedy to that. So that's one of my favorite prompts with that. So we've now really done the key research we need to know to understand not only who we're trying to serve, a little more about the industry, where our product fits in positioning with that, and also what is the cost both indirectly from a qualitative and a quantitative state. Now what we can do is use ChatGPT to role play for us. And ChatGPT really does great with role playing, because what it does is now it's act as the person you are trying to target to speak. And so we're going to say from here, I'm going to choose a procurement manager, because they're the ones usually making the final decisions on what they're going to use in their organization. Act as a procurement manager at food service distributed company. What are the challenges you have regarding your electric pallet jacks? So now this is really breaking down to me, what are the key things that that person in that role is focused on that they're looking for a solution for? This is really giving us that great granular advice. So again, we know we're tailoring our pitch. And again, if I'm on a sales call, I am not going to be able to address all of these here. So we're just going to ask ChatGPT to give us the top 3. Now it's going to tell me, most likely, what are the top 3 issues that a person in this position is trying to fix. In this case, ensuring the reliability and minimizing the downtime, balancing costs with the quality. We know, again, they're looking at the bottom line, but they're also trying to balance the efficiency factor with it and adapting to technological advances. So then, as you're crafting your pitch, these are key areas you're going to be addressing to speak in to overcome that objection that they might be having. And so up to this point now, we now know exactly who we're speaking to. We know exactly the core issues we need to face to tailor our pitch. And now we're ready for outreach. And so what we're going to do, this one's a little bit of a longer prompt. And I will be giving you these prompts later on. We're going to ask ChatGPT to write a script. And we're going to say, when we speak to, and you would put the role in there, in this case, procurement managers, in the food service distributed industry, they tend to share with us some challenges they're having. So then we're going to say, insert challenges 1, 2, and 3 from the list you just generated. Make sure to say some are concerned about before challenge 1, others are worried about before challenge 2, and a lot said they were frustrated with challenge 3. And end with the script with, are these any of the challenges you are currently facing or thinking about? Again, I like to use those for phrases because we're really trying to trigger the emotional response with them into what that pain point is. And so now it's going to create a script for me that I now can use. Now, again, you can refine this, but at least it's giving you an overall direction on where you need to go with your pitch. And so it's now saying, when we speak to procurement managers in the food service distribution industry, they tend to share with us some of the challenges they're having. Some are concerned about ensuring reliability and minimizing downtime. As you see here, it's going to continue to craft that script based upon those 3 key issues. And so now that we have our base pitch, and again, you can absolutely refine this. I suggest you refine it, but it's giving you just a roadmap. Let's say now I want to send a voicemail instead, because we know not all the time can we get someone on the phone. All you got to do is recopy your pitch, which I'm just going to do a quick version here. I'm going to copy this pitch right here. And then ask ChatGPT to condense this down into a voicemail I can leave on their voicemail. And so now it's going to do is take that pitch, condense it down into a voicemail. If it's something that you need shorter, for example, this is probably going to give us something, ChatGPT is a little wordy. And so you can say, I need you to condense this down to a 30-second voicemail. It will reduce it. It works the same way if you're saying, I need this now to turn into an email I can send on LinkedIn Mail, or if you have a specific number of characters, say, I need you to reduce this pitch for me in 200 characters or less. It will do the same thing. So now what you have here is your sales blueprint. Then now Bethany is going to take you into the next phase and show you how to apply it.
Okay, so I just want to recap. So for those of you who are just now joining, if you didn't see what Christina just did, she basically just broke down an industry, found out what the industry is faced with the challenges, said, this is my product, this is what I'm going to position. And she ended up getting a list of decision makers, like way more than we could target or ever want to target, prioritize those decision makers, and then was able to figure out what to say, what the top 3 priorities were for that organization, how much they're spending for that organization for these problems, how she should pitch them, what she should say, get it down to a voicemail script. So if you did not see all of that, and we're going to give you the prompts so you don't have to worry about screenshotting this like a crazy person. This is live. It'll be recorded. It'll be here forever. So I just want to say thank you so much, because I invited her. And then yesterday she sent me the document that she's actually going to share. And I had to like level up my whole game. So you can thank Christina for this being a better session because of the work that she put in to make this easier for you guys. So thank you so much. That's incredible. Now we want to kind of shift gears. You now have all of this information. It's still an assumption. You still have to validate that assumption with actual experiences, conversations, and data from your clients. So don't think that this is 100%. And what she showed you was in one chat engine called ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the one that you hear the most noise about, but it is absolutely not the only one. You have Perplexity, which gives you data and sources. It's searching the internet and saying this data has been vetted and validated. So always use Perplexity to validate that these are assumptions and this data is not completely made up, because that can happen on chat. Google also has Gemini, which is Google's version, and it's good with copy. It's good with some different things. It's getting better. It's not as advanced as chat, but can also verify what Google has done. So Google Gemini can also make up things. So keep in mind, it's not 100%. Can it make your job easier? Absolutely. Should you be using it for different things? Maybe. You have to figure out if this is a good fit for you. But what we're going to talk about now is making the assumption that you may use LinkedIn for outreach. Many of you that found this event found it on LinkedIn. So we're going to make the assumption, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to make the assumption that you're here because you probably do outreach on LinkedIn. And I've got like 9 browsers up because I'm just trying to make sure that the internet doesn't break. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is actually a tool called Humantic. So this is my LinkedIn profile. This is AI. It's an AI-powered tool that's a browser. And let me mute myself. And what Humantic does, did any of you ever have to take a personality profile called a DISC profile? Do you guys remember what that was? So your DISC profile basically said, this is your dominant personality, and this is you're dominant in steadiness, and you're dominant in calculativeness. And our bosses would use that to try and figure out like our strengths and our weaknesses and all these things. So what Humantic does, let me pull up, let me not pull up myself because it is actually pulling the LinkedIn Live and is not showing me. So let me just show you how we use Humantic. So we make assumptions sometimes based on our own past experience, based on our own success that we've had. And what we've done is we have basically said, this worked really well. This type of client worked really well. They had massive success. Let me just sell them. So I'm only going after one target. I'm only going after one title. They need to have these traits. And we don't know if that's a one-off or if this is going to work over and over and over again. But I base my entire sales strategy off of the success of this client. So I'm making an assumption. I have bias. I know what's worked for me, but that doesn't necessarily work for everyone. So Humantic, what this does is this allows me to understand my personality and understand the personality of the person that I am talking to. You do not need to be connected to the person to get this profile. This profile is created based on this person's interaction on LinkedIn. So if they have a very thin LinkedIn profile, you might not have enough data to be able to get this. So this tells me about this person that I'm going to work with. She's a trailblazer. She's charismatic. She's assertive. She values relationships. So here's what's important as a rep. My personality compatibility. I am a dominant DS. So I'm high dominance, high steadiness. She is dominant DI. High dominance, high influence. Why does that matter? That matters because my default selling style might be different than her default buying style. I don't know this person. So if I know ahead of time that the way that I sell is very matter of fact, and I was like, this is the ROI, this is the benefit, these are the results that people have gotten me. And I'm having a conversation with someone that values relationship more than data. Well, me showing up with data and analytics and facts is just going to be a turnoff to that person because that's not how they buy. That's not how they nurture relationships. That's not how you build rapport with that person. So all this does is gives me better insight into how can I establish a meaningful connection with this prospect. So whether you're looking for a job, whether you're looking for new clients, you can use Humantic to understand how to sell this person. So then it goes deeper and it says, when cold calling, pattern interrupt. This is your pace. Watch your tone. Tactics to win. Mistakes to avoid. When you make the ask, confidently ask within 10 to 15 minutes. Are there subconscious drivers? It even gives me a script. So if I'm actually cold calling, I can take this script as a starting point. Many other organizations have scripts and they want you to follow the scripts. That's fine too. When writing an email, sound exciting, but be direct. Subject length, salutation. There are certain people that want me to have a salutation, or they want me to have informality. So they want me to have a greeting that's like, hey, how are you? I hope you're well. That's something that my brain has to go back and remember to do because I am like getting to the point of the email as quickly as possible. But that's important for me to know before I start to reach out to a prospect. When qualifying or prospecting, this is what I do to build a winning connection, and this will break trust. So this is what I do to build their confidence up, and this is what will happen. If this happens, I will break that confidence. So these are just giving me almost like the cliff notes on this person so that when I negotiate, when I sell, I have a more visibility. Secret to closing Alicia fast. Will they take risk? Will they ever say no? So here's the thing. As reps, we're relying on verbal communication. They're saying, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, that sounds great. Reach out to me in a month. We're saying in our pipeline, yeah, it's going to happen. She's really interested. Well, if this is telling me that she's never going to tell me no, then I'm not going to bank on her yes or her maybe, because maybe she's just too nice and she doesn't want to hurt my feelings. So how great would it be to know whether or not they're ever going to say no? So there's just more here. There's more about her personality profile. Some of the other things that I can do with Humantic is I can have it write for me. So if I want to send a message and my writing style is my writing style, but the style that she wants to be communicated with is different, it will rewrite what I wrote to match her style. Same thing with connection requests. If I want to use it to do connection requests, it's not the best. It's okay, but it feels AI. So it's not there yet, but it is decent on the email side. So that is a tool called Humantic. Connects to your LinkedIn, looks at what's on LinkedIn to just give you more insight. What's cool about Humantic is you can also have a buying committee. So if you are doing a presentation to a whole buying committee, then Humantic will allow you to say, this is buyer 1, buyer 2, buyer 3. Put these 3 together. How do I present to them? How do I communicate to them collectively? You could have 3 different personality types. So you got to figure out how to make that happen. It's a lot. Okay, so Humantic is the first tool I want to tell you. The other thing I want to talk about is Perplexity. So Christina touched on this and said basically use Perplexity to validate what chat bots are or what chat's giving you actually is a thing. And this is valid. Perplexity, you can use the free version to just see if you like it. But Perplexity is what we use before we have the call with the prospect. So back in the day, we would have to do hours and hours of research. When I worked at IBM, we had like a whole team. Before we would have a call, we would have the whole team would be like, okay, Bethany, you look at their 10K. Bob, you look at this. So-and-so, look at the news. Look at the financial fact. Like we're doing it's a team to figure out how we can have a sales calls with this person. So what we're doing now, so because that's ingrained with me and I'm old school, I went to like Xerox school of selling, then I think it's just like part of my process, but it's still good to show up educated on the client. Well, that only takes a few minutes when we use Perplexity. So I started a new chat and I said, hey, I'm selling training. Why is it getting smaller? I'm selling training to UPS. I'd like a rundown on economic variables, industry impact, anything new about the company that will serve as my sales research playbook before I have a sales call. So it says, okay, I need to understand the question. It finds 24 sources to give me this data. So it tells me based on the US economy in 2024, these are some of the things that are happening. These are latest news with UPS. They had a reduction of 12,000 jobs. Their revenue has gone from 92 billion, but their revenue's going up. So, and then I'm going to talk about AI and training and development. So it's like, okay, AI is significantly impacting corporations. This is how. So this is general data, not necessarily just on UPS. But then it says, as a sales rep, it's important to understand these economic variables when it comes to transportation, logistics, things like that. It's also understanding where UPS is from a culture standpoint to embrace AI. AI is not something that every culture is embracing. So that's fine. But we need to figure out where do we fit in that mix? And then it gives me some questions that I can ask beyond that. So it's like, hey, here's some logical questions you can ask next. Has UPS been impacted by the recent economic changes? So now I'm saying you gave me economic data for logistics or the US economy in general. You gave me UPS data, but you kind of didn't tie them together. So now can you tie them together for me so I don't have to think and have to figure it out, because you can probably do it way better and way more succinctly than I can do it. So it kind of breaks it down and says, okay, this is what happened Q4 of 2023. We saw a decline in this. It looks like these economic challenges, they are facing these challenges today. So this just gives me a little bit more data. And then I can say, okay, what's the economic outlook for next quarter? So if they're looking good, because they cut people, but they're going to be 2.5 billion higher estimated this year, but their busy season is in Q4. So am I going to be able to sell them something in Q2? Maybe, if the value is there, but I use Perplexity to just give me as much data about the client as possible. And I can take a page from Christina's book and I can say, this is the title of the person that I'm meeting with. What are the demands on their time? What are they faced with within the organization? How are they measured? What is the risk for them to bring a new provider in? So now, what are the objections that they're going to have when it comes to embracing new technology? What are the objections that are going to have for them to sell this upstream? How are we going to have to sell this and get this approved? So again, still assumptions, still based on a myriad of data, but it gives me more information and helps me be more educated when I show up. If you all have questions, I cannot see them. Christina, I don't know if you can just watch the chat and keep up with the questions, so we can keep going. But if you have questions, post them in the comments if you want to. If you don't want to post them in the comments, you can DM Christina, you can DM me on LinkedIn, and we can answer your questions. Now, one of the things that I absolutely love is how can we save time and how can we get more done with less? Because we have to face it. We still are under the burden that we have to perform and we have to do all these things, but sometimes we're not given tools and resources to get that done. So you have to have superpower human abilities to be able to maintain. So the last tool that I want to show you is a tool called Sybil. So if any of you loaded note takers, have you joined web meetings? It's the new normal with COVID, that we all show up on web meetings, Zoom, Teams, Hangout. Well, guess what? There's a lot of note takers. So there's Otter, Fireflies, Phantom. There's a bunch of different note takers, and we've used a lot of them. This one is a note taker on steroids. So this is a company called Sybil, and it's Sybill, 2 L's. And Sybil looks at a couple of things. It uses AI, but it looks at nonverbal communication. Why is that important? Because 93% of communication is nonverbal. But as sales reps, as humans, we rely on the 7% of communication that is said. So what Sybil looks at, for this to work, the person has to be on camera. If you're worried about privacy and ethics and things like that, everything we've shown so far is public information, has nothing to do with your proprietary methodology, your secret sauce. It is all out on the interwebs. This will require consent to record a meeting. Now, for many of us, it's kind of normal now that note takers show up, they're all recording. If your organization is concerned about privacy and ethics, you can send a notice before the meeting and they can agree to be recorded, or they can opt out, and then this would not run. So I do want you to know that when it comes to AI, there are a lot of people that just don't know because they're like, oh, they think it's iRobot and robots are going to take over the world. And we need to shift our perspective. AI is a skill, and it is a skill that will impact every level of employees in your workforce at different levels. So there's not going to be as much of an executive impact on a role day-to-day basis if it comes to executives. But will AI impact their job? Absolutely. Whether it's aggregating data, whether it's giving them insights, there will be an impact from a skill perspective, all the way down to entry level. The way an entry level position will be affected may be very different than an executive level. There are a lot of data and reports. If anybody wants them, I am a super nerd and I have all the data. So let me know and I can send you. Morgan Stanley has a report. IBM has a report. HBR, Harvard Business Review has a report, and they're all based on data and projections of how it's going to impact the workforce. Anywho, this is Sybil. Sybil will read nonverbal communication. So if any of you have a complex methodology or a process that you have to explain, and it's in a slide deck, you present it, you talk slowly, you're like watching people's faces. You're like, does anybody have any questions? I know it's a lot. I know it's confusing. And people are like, nope, I got it. Perfect. It makes sense. You look at Sybil and you go to like a point in time and everybody has a frowny face. Like literally at this point in time, Let me make it a little bit bigger. So Sybil shows you a couple different things. So on the right-hand side, you have outcomes, next steps, conversation starters. You have pain points by person, interest by person, engagement, talk time. It pulls all of this based on the information that it got from the meeting. I did none of this. It got all this for me. So it's giving me all these pain points by all these people. But back to my point. Sorry, got a little lost. You have a methodology. So you have a slide that you present. And in this slide, you present this one slide in your methodology. This is where it is during the course of the meeting. I got to make it smaller. And then these are all my people that are connected. I just messed it up by making it small and big. So I'm looking at different people that are engaged in the conversation. And I can see at certain points, see where it's red. So green is they're in agreement. They're okay. They're not freaking out. Purple is like not getting it, just not getting it. So these little indicators down here that are color coded are basically telling you where people are lost. Now, these red sections, green is they're engaged and they're interacting. Red is they're lost or they're distracted. Not lost, they're distracted, like they're not paying attention. They're multitasking. So if this is the point of the conversation where you're going over your methodology and you're like, oh, any questions? And nobody's like, oh, it's perfectly clear. And you look at this and everybody is confused and distracted, then nobody got it. But nobody was willing to stand up and say, okay, I don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm the only one that doesn't get it. So you can use this to know if people are lost or confused. And it looks at a presentation. So it will say, guess what? When you talked about pricing, these three people were in agreement, but these two people were not in agreement. So they might not have said anything, but from their body language or their tone of their voice, they are not cool about the price. So how great would that be to know that ahead of time so you have insight and visibility into the deal? If you're selling your process or your methodology, but no one was afraid, no one was comfortable to say that, like, listen, Bethanie, this does not make sense to me. What are you talking about? Then I don't know that that's a problem. So what Sybil does that's magical is it gives you deal insights. Deal insights work. Say you have 3 meetings with the prospect. And some of them have decision makers on it. Some of them don't have decision makers on it. But you can see meeting 1, discovery call. Everybody's highly engaged on a discovery call because the client is talking about themselves. So those are always high engagement and everybody's always engaged and super excited because it's a discovery call. Then you have another call that might be your proposal call. Well, the engagement drops on the client side and the buying committee side because you're talking, you're proposing. And then you have another call that might talk about how are we going to sell this upstream? How are we going to get approval, timing? It looks at meeting 1, meeting 2, meeting 3, and says, engagement's going down, deals at risk. So it's starting to look at cumulatively how many times we've met and how the engagement is either going up or down. Because if they're likely to hire you, they might be more excited after the pricing conversation. They might be more engaged when you're talking about implementation and getting approval. So it gives you insights into your presentation. It gives you insights into your deals. And you can also have a buying committee just like you would with Humantic. So if I say, I want to look at the pricing slide, but I only want to look at these 3 people, it'll say, yeah, 2 out of the 3, not too excited about the price. So Sybil allows me to be on meetings back to back to back to back if I have to. And I don't spend hours doing follow-up notes. So what I can do, I can connect this to my CRM. It will send a follow-up note saying, hey, based on the key takeaways, this is what we understand to be the case. And then you can edit this. So read it. Don't like assume that it's all correct, because maybe you agreed to. So if I agreed to have a meeting scheduled April 1st at 2 p.m., it said you agreed to have a meeting scheduled April 1st at 2 p.m. So it looks at all of these things that are going on. It can connect it to my CRM and upload the notes to the client's account. It can create the follow-up message for me in email. And my team uses this to help me keep up with clients, because if I'm on calls back to back to back, I don't want to spend 3 hours at the end of the day writing up notes. So my team uses this to help make sure that the clients get what they need, or the prospects get what they need, and then add my tasks and my to-dos to my list. So this alone has saved a ton of time. If you have a large sales team, you can also use Sybil to create snippets. So if there is a price objection that a client had, and you're like, listen, I tried to overcome the objection 9 different times. Every response we have in our playbook, I tried, I couldn't get it. I could just send that snippet of that conversation to my manager and say, I'm going to need your help with overcoming pricing because I couldn't do it. Here's the conversation. Here's when they started asking about pricing, and it was a 15-minute long conversation, and I'm still not confident that they're okay with pricing. So these are just a couple of tools that we have that are accessible for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing and then see if I can find my screen. How are we doing? Let me add Christina back to the stage. Hey, hey. Okay. Are there any questions that we need to address? Anything? Let me pull up a couple of different resources that you guys are going to have access to. I know we said we were going to, you might actually win the time lottery. If we don't have any questions and you guys don't need anything, then we may get out of here early. You're welcome. Okay, so let me, these are the resources. Let me share my screen so you can see what you're going to get access to. And let me post this in the comments. So we promised you the prompts. You can thank Christina for that because I did not do this. So let me share my screen and bring it to, I'm gonna have to share my whole screen because I'm just like really confused right now. Okay, so I just posted a link for this page. There is the AI prompt guide that Christina put together for you that has all of the prompts that she was copying and pasting. She does not type that fast. It seems like she does, but she actually just copied and pasted these ahead of time. So when you go to this page, you will have access. You can click here and download the PDF. We also have a couple different things. So there is a longer Humantic demo if you want to learn more about Humantic. Here's a link to the AI to Humantic trial. You can get 7 days without a credit card. If you want a longer trial, you give them a credit card, 21 days. Make sure you cancel if you don't want to pay for it. Perplexity, here's a link to check out Perplexity. You can check out the free version of Perplexity. See if you like it. See if it saves you time. Sybil, this is a free trial, but Sybil integrates with your email. So it's going to prompt you to connect to Microsoft or connect to Google or to connect to your calendar. There's like no sign up. So if you get there and you're like, wait, I'm not giving you access to my calendar, it's okay. It's just the process. So if you don't trust that, you can go to Sybil's website, and when you click for a trial, it's going to ask you for access to your calendar. There's literally like no username and password. And then we have other tools that we can help with LinkedIn reach and visibility so you can make more sales in less time. But I want to make sure, so these are the resources. There's no gate, no email address required. Just go to the link, download the stuff. Are there any questions? Let me refresh. LinkedIn is weird. Love LinkedIn. Sorry if anybody's on here from LinkedIn, but you guys are a little strange when it comes to like refreshing things dynamically. Any questions? I'm checking.
Looks good on my end.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining. If you have any questions about any of the resources, Christina's contact information is at the top of the website and the website page that we put in the chat. Let me make sure it is the website link in the chat. I don't, let me just put it just in case. I don't see it like I thought I put it, but link to goodies. Okay. Okay, I'm putting the link to the goodies in the LinkedIn chat. If you don't see it, you might have to refresh. I don't know. But if you refresh, I don't know if you're going to get kicked out. I just don't know. But if you don't see it, just DM me or Christina. You can find us in the details of the event as a speaker. And then we do have another event scheduled in April. So what we're going to talk about in April, if you like this, I would love for you to come back. What we're going to talk about in April is how you can 3x your sales by automating LinkedIn. So there's a lot of things you can do on LinkedIn. There's way more than just connecting with people. There's whole strategies around how to sell more. So if that is a goal of yours, I'll put the link in there for the April event. We'd love to have you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Christina. I appreciate you. And that's it. If anybody has any questions after the fact, if you're watching this after we went live, please tag myself or Christina because we can't see it after the fact. LinkedIn Live, like these things kind of disappear. So we will send everyone that was registered a link to get back here and the link to the resources. So if you lose this live, it should be in our messages. So just find your messages from Bethanie and you will be able to find the LinkedIn Live link and you'll be able to find the download to Christina's amazing prompt guide. Okay. I don't see any questions. If you do have questions, DM me, tag us in the comments. Thank you so much. Here's to your massive success in 2024. Go be awesome. Thank you. Take care.